What's happening, YouTube? My name is Immortal Coil, coming to you once again on the lam from the wrong side of town. And today, we're going to be talking about this phenomenon of gender swapping in comic books. There's a very bizarre phenomenon going on in comic books that very subtly creeped its way in. And now the writing that's painted on the wall, especially in context of Endgame, is very alarming. A lot of this is based off of discussions that Ethan Van Sciver of COMICARTISTPRO Secrets has sort of divulged and riffed on, and then I started twisting it around, and then we're going to have a surprise at the end. So if you're not subscribed, go subscribe to him. He's an industry insider. Worked 26 years for people like DC and Marvel, so he was there during the 90s comic boom when things were awesome. And then as things began to turn and things became more about politics, he decided to quit and do his own thing, and now he's basically a millionaire. So there's this bizarre phenomenon of gender swapping. And what that means is that they introduce a female version of a male superhero, and then the male superhero dies. And then that leaves the female to carry on in his place. A good example of that is X-23, which took Wolverine's place after he died. And I know that there are various versions of Wolverine running around and his offspring, but she was the new Wolverine. Another example of that is Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen is a blonde Spider-Man, and Peter Parker's nowhere to be found. Then you have the female version of Thor, which I guess Thor, Odin's son, became unworthy to handle Mjolnir. And so this woman picked it up, and now she's doing Thor shit. The final example is going to be Iron Man, who at one point was not only gender swapped, but he was race swapped. Now if you go and ask the content creators what's going on with all this, you'll get an answer something like, oh, well, you know, we're trying to introduce strong female characters so that little girls can have somebody to look up to. Okay, seems harmless, but comics already have hundreds of strong female characters. What's the point of killing off the male superhero and then replacing him with a female? Now, even that being my opinion, the other thing that's going on is that identity politics and social justice warriors have overran the comics industry. And what that means is that they're using it as a platform to push their beliefs. And that's not even the most egregious fault. We've seen a drop in the quality of content and in the artistry. Like, here's a classic rendition of Wolverine. Frank Miller. Okay? Here's a version of Wolverine by Ethan Van Sciver. Here's a version of Wolverine by Sean Chen. Here's a few panels from The Return of Wolverine. He has heat claws now, and he's running around with this, in the first couple of issues, it's a mystery lady. And again, he's got this transient amnesia going on. He doesn't know where he is or how he got there or who's trying to kill him. He's just trying to survive. But look at the artwork. It's terrible. It looks like somebody in 7th grade drew it, and it looks like somebody in 6th grade colored it. And then I'm not going to spoil the story, because honestly I don't want to waste my spit. But if you come across a copy of it somehow, you'll know what I mean. Now I want to tell you this story so I can get back to the main point. A couple days ago in the Fandom Collective group chat, of course we're doing things like putting together live streams and helping each other out with ideas and generally lifting each other up. That's what we do. But we came across this app called Face App. And ostensibly it's a cute little thing that girls on Instagram can use to make the pictures of them hanging their ass off the sink look better or glamorous or whatever, and then they can call themselves models and charge $200 an hour for people to take pictures of them. But there is a function on FaceApp that allows for gender swap. So you take a selfie, you swap it out, and you see what you would look like as the opposite gender. And we were basically just laughing and fucking around and going like, yeah, I'd fuck me. But then I started thinking about what EDS says, and I started wondering, okay, what would it look like to gender swap some of these superheroes? So here we have Bat-Wham-Man. And here we have Super Wham-Man. Here we have Ms. Freeze. You can't call her Miss or Mrs. because she'd freeze you. Now before we move on, I know that you're going to say that there's already a Batgirl, there's already a Supergirl, there's already a She-Hulk. But the difference here is that the male superheroes were not killed off to make room for these female superheroes. These female superheroes oftentimes fought alongside their male counterparts, or were mentored by them, or in turn did some mentoring. So that's not an egregious fault for me. But let's keep rolling with this ball, because this is going to get really silly. And what we have here is a thing I like to call what's good for the goose is good for the gander. We're going to take the idea of gender swapping and apply it to female superheroes, so you can see how dumb this really is. Here we have Elektra. Here we have Wonder Man. Here we have John Gray. Here we have Catman. And here we have Captain Marvel. Now, all kidding aside, here's the main idea that I want you guys to rub your temples and try to avoid drinking as you consider. As I discussed in the comment section with Black Angus Reviews, politics has always been to some degree present in comic books. But traditionally, the politics weren't the main part of the story. What it was that we had characters fighting other characters, well-written characters of differing political ideologies. Their positions were clear and the stakes were clear, but when the good guys were done fighting the bad guys, sometimes there wasn't even resolution. But when you contrast that with the modern version, the writers and a lot of times the artists have prefabricated political conclusions that they want their audience to come to, and they'll twist the story and they'll twist the characters around so you'll see that their way is right. And that's not a healthy way to debate politics. And despite what the media says, the consumers are speaking out too. We're not going to pay like $2-3 to read about this kind of stuff. You know, we'll go back and read stuff from the 90s and earlier, because they actually knew how to put together a story and not insult their audience. Now look, if there's a whammon around, I'll respect her, as long as she doesn't try to tell me how to lead my life. My name's Immortal Coil. Like, share, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. Let me know what you want to see covered on future editions of Savage Spirituality. Check out my friends in the Fandom Collective. We're a group of channels who are dedicated to helping up-and-coming YouTubers gain some traction, get some followers, get some likes, and getting their voice heard. And remember, we're at the forefront of the social revolution. You don't want to be sitting at home with that